When Emma first met Marcus, her handsome black gym instructor, she could have sworn he was going to be a lifetime enemy. Yet somehow, he became the one man she could not get out of her mind. She never planned to fall for the person who challenged her, humbled her, and saw through all her walls, but the truth is, 1 month with him changed everything. Emma Harrison had built her entire life on control. At 29, she was one of the youngest senior associates at Mitchell & Barnes, a prestigious corporate law firm where losing wasn't in the vocabulary. Her days were filled with boardroom battles she always won, contracts she negotiated to perfection, and a reputation that preceded her wherever she went. But control, as she was learning, had a price. It started with a photograph. Her sister had posted pictures from a family gathering. Emma had been too busy to attend, and there she was, caught mid-laugh in the background, looking exhausted and hollow. She barely recognized herself. The woman in that photo wasn't the powerful attorney she saw in her mind. That woman looked forgotten, neglected, lost. Emma had always prided herself on her discipline, but somewhere between the late nights and endless cases, she had stopped taking care of herself. She had stopped taking care of everything that wasn't billable hours. So she did what Emma Harrison always did when faced with a problem. She researched, made a plan, and decided to fix it. She joined Apex Fitness, the most expensive gym in the city, and scheduled her first visit for Monday morning at 6 a.m. sharp. The gym was impressive. Floor-to-ceiling windows, state-of-the-art equipment, and the kind of clientele that wore designer workout clothes that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Emma walked in wearing brand new Lululemon everything, her blonde hair pulled back in a perfect ponytail, radiating the same confidence she brought to every courtroom. She approached the front desk with purpose. "I need to speak with your best trainer. I've done my research, and I understand you have premium personal training available. I want to book sessions immediately." The receptionist, a young woman with a friendly smile, nodded. "We have several excellent trainers. Let me get you set up with a consultation." "I don't need a consultation," Emma interrupted, her tone clipped and efficient. "I need results. Time is money, and I don't have time to waste on introductory sessions and sales pitches. Who's the best? I'll pay whatever the rate is." The receptionist's smile faltered slightly. "Well, Marcus Thompson is one of our most experienced trainers, but he's very selective about his clients. His schedule is—" "Where is he?" "He's with a client right now." "But—" Emma was already walking toward the training floor, her heels clicking against the polished concrete. She scanned the space with the same analytical eye she used in depositions, looking for someone who fit the profile. Her gaze landed on him immediately. Marcus Thompson was in the free weight section, spotting a client through a set of heavy bench presses. Even from across the room, his presence was undeniable. He moved with the kind of confidence that came from genuine competence, not performance. His focus was entirely on his client, offering quiet encouragement and making small adjustments to form. Emma waited, arms crossed, her impatience growing with each passing minute. When Marcus finally finished with his client and sent them off with a fist bump and words of encouragement, she approached. "Marcus Thompson?" she said, her voice carrying the same authority she used with opposing counsel. He turned to face her, and for a brief moment, Emma felt something unfamiliar, the sense of being truly seen. His dark eyes met hers with an unsettling directness, taking her measure in seconds. "That's me," he replied, his voice deep and measured. "Can I help you?" "I hear you're the best trainer here," Emma said, getting straight to business. "I need someone who can get me results fast. I don't have time to waste on programs that take 6 months. I'm willing to pay premium rates for premium service." Marcus's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. He wiped his hands on a towel, took a deliberate breath, and said with perfect calm, "I work with people who are serious, not people who want shortcuts. There's a difference." Emma blinked, certain she had misheard. "Excuse me?" "You heard me," Marcus said, his tone professional but unmoved. "You walked in here like you're buying a car, talking about premium rates and fast results. That tells me you think fitness is something you can purchase and check off a list." "It's not," heat flooded Emma's face. No one, absolutely no one, spoke to her like this. "I'm offering to pay you well above your normal rate, and you're turning me down? Do you have any idea? Money doesn't impress me, Marcus interrupted, his voice still calm but firm. Commitment does. You walk in here with that attitude, treating this like another business transaction. You're not ready for what real change requires. Real transformation takes time, humility, and a willingness to be uncomfortable. You want fast results? Go hire someone who'll take your money and tell you what you want to hear. But that's not me. Emma felt like she had been slapped. Her jaw tightened, her perfectly manicured nails digging into her palms. You don't know anything about me. I know your type, Marcus said. Not unkindly, but without apology. I've trained dozens of people who walk in here thinking they can buy their way to change. Most of them quit after 2 weeks because they realize it's actually hard work. They realize they can't control everything. They realize they have to trust the process, trust someone else, and they can't handle it. So you're a mind reader now? Emma's voice was ice. No, I'm just honest. Come back when you're serious about the work, not just the results. For a long moment, they stood there, locked in a silent battle of wills. Emma wanted to unleash the full force of her courtroom fury, to tear into him with the verbal precision that made opposing lawyers nervous. But something stopped her. Maybe it was the complete lack of malice in his rejection. Maybe it was the uncomfortable recognition that he had hit a nerve. Instead, she turned on her heel and walked out, her face burning with humiliation and rage. The next 3 days were torture. Emma couldn't stop replaying the encounter in her mind. She had been dismissed, judged, found wanting, and by someone she had been prepared to pay handsomely. It gnawed at her during meetings, during her morning coffee, during the sleepless hours when she should have been resting. But beneath the anger, something else stirred. A challenge. Emma Harrison had never backed down from a challenge in her life. On Thursday morning, she returned to Apex Fitness. This time, she wore simple workout clothes, her hair in a messy bun, her armor of perfection deliberately set aside. She found Marcus finishing up with an early morning client. When he saw her, he raised an eyebrow but said nothing. Emma walked up to him, her pride swallowed but not broken. You said I wasn't serious. I'm here to prove you wrong. 1 month. If I'm not committed enough for you by the end of it, I'll admit you were right, and I'll never bother you again. Marcus studied her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then, something softened, just slightly, in his eyes. 1 month, but we do this, my way. No shortcuts, no complaints, no excuses. You show up on time, you do the work, and you check your ego at the door. Deal? Emma extended her hand, meeting his gaze with determination. Deal. His handshake was firm, professional, but as their hands met, Emma felt something electric pass between them, a spark of recognition, of challenge accepted on both sides. She had no idea that this handshake would change everything, that the man who had just humiliated her would become the person she couldn't stop thinking about, that this month would crack open the carefully constructed walls she had spent years building. All she knew was that Marcus Thompson had challenged her in a way no one else ever had. And Emma Harrison never walked away from a challenge. The first session was brutal. Emma thought she was prepared. She wasn't. Marcus had her start with a simple warm-up. Jumping jacks, high knees, and something called burpees that made her want to die after the first 5. Her lungs burned, her legs shook, and sweat poured down her face in a way that felt almost offensive. Emma Harrison didn't sweat like this. Emma Harrison was always composed, always in control. Keep going, Marcus said, not yelling but firm. 10 more seconds. Those 10 seconds felt like 10 hours. When she finally stopped, gasping for air, hands on her knees, Marcus handed her a water bottle. That was your warm-up. Emma looked at him in horror. That was just the warm-up? Welcome to week 1, he said, and she could swear she saw the hint of a smile. The rest of the session was worse. Squats that made her legs tremble, push-ups where she could barely manage 5 before collapsing, planks that felt like torture devices invented specifically to break her spirit. And through it all, Marcus watched with those calm, steady eyes, correcting her form, pushing her forward, refusing to let her quit. By the end, Emma could barely walk to her car. She sat in the driver's seat for 10 minutes, too exhausted to even turn the key. Her whole body ached. Her pride ached even more. But she came back the next day, and the day after that, by the third session, something inside Emma snapped. She was in the middle of a set of lunges, her legs screaming in protest, when she just stopped, stood up, threw her hands in the air. "I can't do this," she said, her voice sharp with frustration. "This is too hard. My body isn't built for this." Marcus crossed his arms, his expression unchanged. "You're right. You can't do it with that attitude." "Don't patronize me," Emma shot back, all her frustration boiling over. "You're enjoying this, aren't you? Watching me struggle? Watching the arrogant lawyer fall on her face?" For a moment, Marcus said nothing. Then he stepped closer, his voice quiet but intense. "You want to know what I'm enjoying? I'm enjoying watching you realize you're human, that you can't control everything, that some things require you to fail before you succeed. That's the first step, Emma. And yeah, it's hard. It's supposed to be hard." Emma felt tears prick her eyes, which only made her angrier. She didn't cry, especially not in front of people, especially not in front of him. "Why are you pushing me so hard?" she asked, her voice cracking. "Because I see what you could be," Marcus said simply, "and I don't waste my time on people I don't believe in." Something in those words broke through her defenses. Emma took a shaky breath, wiped her eyes, and got back into position. "Okay, let's finish this." Marcus nodded, respect flickering across his face. "That's what I thought." Week 2 brought a shift. Emma's body started adapting, the soreness became manageable, the exercises less impossible. But more than that, something was changing inside her. She started arriving early, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. The gym became less like a battlefield and more like a refuge. During their rest breaks, Marcus and Emma began to talk. Real talk, not the surface-level small talk Emma was used to. Marcus told her about growing up in a rough neighborhood, about how his older brother had gotten caught up in gangs, how fitness and discipline had saved Marcus from following the same path. He talked about building himself from nothing, about learning that strength wasn't about dominating others, it was about mastering yourself. Emma found herself opening up too, in ways she never did. She told him about the pressure of her job, about always having to be perfect, about the loneliness that came with success, about how she had built walls so high that nobody could get in, but that also meant she couldn't get out. "Why do you do it?" Marcus asked one day, handing her a towel. "The law thing. Does it make you happy?" Emma paused, really thinking about it. "I don't know if happiness was ever the goal. Success was. Proving myself was." "And have you proved yourself?" "To everyone but me," she admitted quietly. Marcus nodded, understanding in his eyes. That's the hardest person to prove anything to. By week 3, Emma realized something terrifying. She looked forward to seeing Marcus more than anything else in her day. Not just the training, him. The way he listened without judging. The way he challenged her without belittling her. The way he saw through all her defenses to something real underneath. She noticed small things. The way his face lit up when she completed a difficult set. How he remembered details about her cases. Asked follow-up questions about things she had mentioned days ago. The warmth in his voice when he said "good job" after she pushed through a challenging workout. One evening, Emma arrived at the gym completely shattered. She had lost a major case that afternoon, a case she had spent 6 months building, a case everyone said was a sure win. She had considered canceling the session, staying home to drown in self-pity and wine. But some part of her needed to come. Needed to see him. Marcus knew immediately. "What happened?" "I don't want to talk about it," Emma said, her voice flat. "Okay." He didn't push. Just started setting up for their session like normal. They made it through the warm-up, but Emma's heart wasn't in it. Her movements were mechanical, distracted. Finally, Marcus stopped. "Emma, talk to me." And she broke. Right there in the middle of the gym, surrounded by clanging weights and running treadmills, Emma Harrison broke down. The tears she had been holding back all day came flooding out. "I lost," she sobbed. "I never lose. And I lost. Everything I worked for, months of preparation, and I failed. I'm a failure." Marcus guided her to a bench, sat beside her, his presence solid and calm. "You lost a case. That doesn't make you a failure." You don't understand. I understand that you're human, Marcus said gently. I understand that failure is part of growth. Every successful person has failed, Emma. The difference is they keep showing up. And you know what I see right now? Someone who lost something important and still showed up here. That's not failure. That's courage. Emma looked at him through tear-blurred eyes, and something passed between them, a moment of connection so powerful it made her breath catch. His eyes held hers, warm and understanding, and she felt seen in a way she had never experienced before. Thank you, she whispered. Always, he said softly. Week 4 arrived too quickly. Emma's last week, the thought made her chest tight with an emotion she didn't want to name. Their sessions had a different quality now. There was an awareness hanging in the air between them, unspoken but impossible to ignore. Sometimes Emma would catch Marcus watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. Sometimes their hands would brush when he spotted her during an exercise, and electricity would shoot through her entire body. She was falling for him. She knew it was probably stupid, probably just some psychological thing about trainers and clients, but it felt real. More real than anything she had felt in years. After their second-to-last session, Emma lingered while Marcus put away equipment. Her heart was pounding harder than it had during the workout. Marcus, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He turned, and the look in his eyes told her he knew what was coming. These past few weeks have meant more to me than just fitness, Emma continued, pushing through her fear. You've changed something in me, made me see things differently, made me feel. She stopped, swallowing hard. I just wanted you to know that. Marcus's expression was pained. He took a step toward her, then stopped himself. Emma, I know, she said quickly, saving him from having to say it. I know this is professional. I know you can't, we can't. I just needed you to know. You've changed my life too, Marcus said, his voice rough with emotion. More than you know, but I can't, we can't, while you're still my client. It wouldn't be right. You trust me, and I won't break that trust, no matter how much I... He stopped, running a hand over his face. It wouldn't be right. Emma nodded, her throat tight. I understand. But understanding didn't make it hurt any less. The final session felt like saying goodbye to something Emma didn't have words for. She arrived early, wanting to stretch out every last minute. Marcus was already there, setting up their usual space, and when he saw her, his smile was tinged with the same sadness she felt. They worked through the routine they had built together over the month. Warm-up, strength training, cardio intervals, but everything felt different, weighted with meaning. Every correction of her form felt like a touch she wanted to remember. Every word of encouragement felt like something she wanted to record and play back later. Emma had transformed. She could see it in the mirror, not just her body, which was stronger and leaner, but something in her eyes. A softness that hadn't been there before. An openness. She stood differently now, moved differently. The armor she had worn for so many years had cracked, and underneath was someone real. Halfway through, during a water break, Marcus spoke. I'm proud of you, Emma. Not just for the physical work, though that's been impressive, but for everything else. For showing up even when it was hard. For being vulnerable. For letting your walls come down. You made that possible, Emma said softly. You taught me that strength isn't about control. It's about trust. You already had that in you, Marcus replied. I just helped you find it. They finished the session in near silence, both aware that words would only make the goodbye harder. When they were done, Emma grabbed her towel, her bag, preparing for the end. Marcus walked her toward the door, something he had never done before. At the exit, they stopped, facing each other. Thank you, Emma said, her voice thick with emotion. For everything. For challenging me. For believing in me. For seeing me when I couldn't see myself. You're going to do amazing things, Marcus said. Keep showing up, Emma. For yourself. They shook hands. Professional, appropriate, final. But Emma felt the warmth of his hand around hers and wanted to hold on forever. Instead, she let go, gave him one last smile, and walked out into the evening air. The tears came in her car. She sat in the parking lot and cried like she hadn't cried in years. Not just for Marcus, but for everything. For the walls she had built that had kept everyone out, for the loneliness she had accepted as normal, for the version of herself she had been before him, and the uncertainty of who she would be after. Eventually, she drove home. Life continued. Work continued. But everything felt different. Emma kept working out, maintaining everything Marcus had taught her. She joined group classes at the gym, made friends with other regulars, even smiled at strangers on the treadmill. The discipline he had instilled in her became part of her routine, but more than that, the lessons had sunk deeper. She spoke up more in meetings, but listened more too. She stopped apologizing for taking up space. She called her sister, made plans for dinner, showed up. But she thought about Marcus constantly, not with desperate longing, but with a warm ache of gratitude and what if. She wondered if he thought about her too, if he remembered their conversations, if he noticed she still came to the gym, carefully timing her visits to avoid running into him because seeing him would be too hard. 2 weeks after their final session, Emma decided to treat herself. She had won a case, a big one. And instead of celebrating with her usual bottle of wine alone in her apartment, she went to her favorite coffee shop near the gym. She needed to get out, be around people, practice this new version of herself who actually lived life instead of just working through it. She ordered a latte and a pastry, found a table by the window, and pulled out a book she had been meaning to read for months. The evening sun painted everything golden, and for the first time in forever, Emma felt peaceful. She was so absorbed in her book that she didn't notice him until his voice broke through her concentration. Emma. Her head snapped up. Marcus stood there, looking slightly nervous, an expression she had never seen on him before. He wore jeans and a simple t-shirt, casual in a way she had never seen him at the gym. "Marcus," she breathed, her heart suddenly racing. "What are you?" "I was hoping I'd run into you," he admitted, running a hand over his hair. "Actually, that's not true. I've been coming here every evening for the past week, hoping I'd run into you." "That sounds creepy, doesn't it?" Emma laughed, a real laugh that bubbled up from somewhere deep. "A little bit, but also sweet." "Can I sit?" he asked, gesturing to the empty chair across from her. "Please." Marcus sat down, and for a moment they just looked at each other. Emma noticed details she had missed before, the small scar above his eyebrow, the flecks of gold in his dark eyes, the way his hands moved nervously on the table. "You're not my client anymore," Marcus said finally. "Haven't been for 2 weeks." "I know," Emma replied softly. "And I can't stop thinking about you," he continued, the words rushing out like he had been holding them back too long. "I know this is probably unprofessional, and maybe you've moved on, and maybe I'm reading everything wrong, but I had to try. I had to tell you that what happened between us, what I felt, it wasn't just trainer and client. It was real. You're real. And I've never met anyone who challenged me the way you did, who made me want to be better just by being herself." Emma felt tears prick her eyes, but this time they were happy tears. "You challenged me first," she said. "You saw through everything I was pretending to be and demanded I show you who I really was. Nobody's ever done that before." "So," Marcus said, his voice hopeful but nervous, "would you want to grab dinner sometime? Not as trainer and client, just as us. As two people who maybe could be something together." Emma reached across the table and took his hand, feeling that same electric connection that had been there from the beginning. "I would love that. But actually, do you want to just stay here? Talk? I'm not ready for this to be a quick coffee." Marcus's face broke into the most genuine smile she had ever seen from him. "I've got nowhere else I'd rather be." They talked for hours. The coffee shop staff cleaned around them, dimmed the lights, and eventually the manager gently told them they were closing. Marcus and Emma stepped outside into the cool night air, still talking, still laughing, neither wanting the evening to end. "Can I walk you to your car?" Marcus asked. "Only if you're planning to ask for my number," Emma teased. "I've had your number for a month," Marcus said. "I was just waiting for the right time to use it for something other than scheduling sessions." "Well then," Emma said, moving closer to him, "what are you waiting for?" Marcus looked at her, really looked at her, and she saw everything she had been feeling reflected back in his eyes. Slowly, carefully, he reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. The touch was gentle, asking permission. "I'm not waiting anymore," he said softly. And there, under the streetlights outside a coffee shop, Marcus kissed her. It was soft and sweet and perfect, and Emma felt like everything that had been broken inside her was finally healing. When they pulled apart, she was smiling so wide her cheeks hurt. "I should tell you something," Emma said, keeping her arms around his neck. "I hired you to transform my body, but you transformed my life. You broke down walls I had spent years building, not with force, but with patience and honesty and belief. We started as enemies, and somewhere along the way, we became something I never expected. I can't stop thinking about you, Marcus. Not because I need you, but because for the first time in my life, I chose to let someone in, and you chose me back." Marcus pulled her closer. "Always going to choose you," he murmured. "Every single day." They stood there for a long moment, wrapped up in each other. Two people who had found something unexpected and real. Eventually, Marcus walked Emma to her car, holding her hand the entire way. Before she got in, he kissed her again, slower this time, like he was memorizing the moment. "Dinner tomorrow?" he asked. "Breakfast too, if you're free," Emma replied. Marcus laughed. "I'm free. I'm very free." Emma drove home with music playing loud, singing along without caring how she sounded. When she got to her apartment, she looked at herself in the mirror, really looked. The woman staring back wasn't the controlled, perfect attorney who had walked into that gym a month ago. This woman was real, open, alive. This woman had scars and softness and strength all mixed together. She pulled out her phone and texted Marcus. "Thank you for seeing me." His response came immediately. "Thank you for letting me." Emma fell asleep, smiling, her phone clutched in her hand, dreaming of tomorrow and all the tomorrows after that. She had gone looking for a trainer and found something infinitely more valuable. She had found herself. And in the process, she had found him. Sometimes the best things in life come from the hardest beginnings. Sometimes the person who challenges you the most is exactly the person you need. And sometimes, when you finally let your walls down, you discover that what's on the other side is worth every bit of fear it took to get there. Emma had stopped thinking about Marcus as the gym instructor she had hired for 1 month. Now, he was simply Marcus, the man who had changed her life, the man she couldn't stop thinking about. And this time, she didn't want to stop.